A Maui wildfire survivor accused of shooting and killing a well-known amputee surfer is trying to have his case dismissed. Sekonaia Takafua is charged with the murder of Shawn Lewis in Waikapu last September. He glanced at our cameras today while his attorney requested charges be dropped. His defense team says the prosecutor improperly dismissed a grand jury member and a detective used excessive hearsay during the indictment process. Takafua's attorney also argued that news coverage is creating a bias against his client.
And so there are some reasons that it was very prejudicial to the case. One is the media jumped on it and took over in their stories right away.
It has nothing to do with the case. I can't stop the media from not reporting things, and neither can your client, and neither can you, nor will we ever want. Of course, I don't see that that's prejudicial.
Judge Peter Cahill decided to continue the hearing to September 2nd in order to fully read the transcript from the grand jury's indictment. He also denied a motion to drop charges due to alleged violations of rights to a speedy trial. Cahill also maintained bail at $1 million, citing Takafua's potential danger to the community.